guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 113, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing this week, man?
I am doing excellent. Happy to be back talking fights with you. How you doing, Phil?
Doing well. So, guys, we've got a lot on tap tonight. First and foremost, my opening question for Fight Geek. After that, a very quick recap and review of Triller's little card, however you want to call it, the Holyfield Belfort Silver Ortiz card. After that, UFC Vegas 38 Smith versus Spann, preview and picks. And then after that, my favorite section, listener questions and more. So, Fight Geek, let me start off the episode with this question for you. So Triller obviously had their third major fight card this weekend. In the main event, it had Evander Holyfield getting demolished by Vitor Belfort. And then in the co-main event, Anderson Silva knocked out Tito Ortiz inside one round. Here's my simple question for you. How long and how sustainable is this Triller Circus freak show boxing model going to go? Because I, for one, Fight Geek, I'm just about 100% done with it. The only thing that saves it for me is I love watching Anderson Silva win, and I will keep watching that. But besides that, Jake Paul and all of them, I could take it or leave it. I'm bored.
Well, I mean, at this point, Jake Paul's with Showtime, so he's not even a Triller fighter. I mean, Triller is...
You get my point. The circus boxing in general.
I get it, but Triller is really the bottom of the barrel, and I think this weekend really showed you that. I mean, the Evander Holyfield booking was absolutely, positively criminal.
It was despicable.
Yeah. It was, I mean, the guy literally couldn't even, defend himself. The guy is one of the most, blood and guts warriors to ever perform in combat sports. He was over a decade ago,
We all agree he should not have fought this weekend.
It was so
but
bad.
He did.
And the way it played out and the way Vitor is celebrating and just so horrible. I mean, I can't imagine that people would have a huge appetite much longer for this, but it really just depends on how intriguing the names are. I mean,
I was going to say, let me rephrase the question just really quickly, and then I'll pass it back to you. So how much longer is Triller going to be able to put on these freak shows, knowing they don't have Jake Paul? That's my real I just feel like they're running out of runway.
I think you could still turn around and make the, Vitor Belfort versus Oscar De La Hoya fight, though. So, I mean, they still have some of that stuff. Are you going to get high-level, performances or anything that other than, meme of Tito Ortiz getting knocked out? I don't think so. I don't think there's much more there. But, there's an appetite for that. So it's hard for me to say because as a fight fan, I don't want to pay too much attention to it. And especially the bookings like Silva versus Tito Ortiz, which in each guy in his own right has been a former UFC champion, totally different styles, totally different career paths. The booking made no sense.
So, but what was your takeaway?
To me at all.
While we're on that, what was your takeaway from that fight? I saw some people saying they thought that it was rigged because Tito looked so bad.
Well, Tito looked so bad because he was basically killing himself to try and get the 195, which I don't know, if people... Tito's a pretty well-documented guy. He's been around forever. He's a big 205er, He's not when they said he was going to cut to 195, I knew that was going to be really hard for him, especially at his advanced age.
Well, he did miss weight by 5 pounds for the record. He came in at 200.
That's because how hard it was for him to do, and you could see it in his face. I think that actually contributed to the fact that he got knocked unconscious. But I mean,
yeah,
the skill and the speed difference in the striking department was, I mean, it wasn't intriguing at all to me. It was just a foregone conclusion.
No, it was a horrible fight. It was less than a round, as was Holyfield Belfort. That's why I say that they're running out of track. That's why I say they're running out of track, Fight Geek. It's like this is over. This is boring. They're not good fights.
I don't know. If they keep paying Anderson Silva, I think there will be an appetite for that. But what kind of numbers are they doing? I don't think they did 500,000 pay-per-view buys this weekend.
Oh, there's no way. They didn't even sniff 300,000. No way.
Yeah. So it's hard to say because it seems like there's an appetite because Vitor Belfort's talking about $30 million fights. I don't know how that's a possibility.
That's, yeah, let's see the escrow
who
for
is
that.
paying those guys $30 million to fight? We can't get Nate Diaz paid But these guys are throwing around $30 million. I have a hard time
I'm calling
believing
serious
that's reality.
BS. I'm calling serious BS on that Belfort 30, like that he has access to 30 million. There's no way. So okay.
Or that anybody's going to pay him and Jake. I mean, Jake Paul has earning power. That's clear. But even his last fight versus Tyron Woodley, which was much more intriguing.
Oh
than
yeah,
anything
yeah. It was
Vitor
much more
Belfort's
intriguing.
going to be able to do. Only did around 500,000, correct?
Yeah, but really quick. Okay, so while we're on this, Vitor Belfort called out Jake Paul. He said 30 million, winner take all. I personally, Fight Geek, I think that Anderson Silva is the far more exciting opponent for Jake Paul. Jake Paul on Ariel Helwani earlier yesterday said that he wasn't necessarily opposed to Anderson Silva. Almost sounded like he was considering both Belfort and Silva as well as Tommy Fury for his next fight. Do you have a preference for who fights next? Because I want to see Anderson whoop Jake Paul's ass, if I'm being honest.
Well, I think that's the only real intriguing part matchup, because we know that Anderson Silva possesses the skills to do what we all want to see, and that's put Jake Paul in his place. I think Vitor Belfort would give him problems, but I mean, even Vitor Belfort was in there boxing very crudely, just throwing haymakers at an overmatched, older fighter. So I didn't necessarily see anything from Vitor other than his, obvious power.
Yeah, what do you make of the people saying that Silva might get caught against Jake Paul? They should make Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul.
Anderson Silva will never get caught.
I think some people have said, could he showboat like he did in the Weidman fight?
Silva has forgotten more striking techniques than Jake Paul will ever know.
Okay, well, we agree there. There's no reason.
Well, I'm just saying that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen.
Okay, so Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, does that do anything for you? It doesn't do anything for me.
What do you mean, do anything
Does it excite you?
Not particularly.
I thought Tommy Fury looked horrendous against, I believe his first name is Anthony Taylor. Anthony Taylor, right? Yeah, Taylor, the MMA fighter that he fought last fight in the undercard of Woodley versus Paul. I thought Tommy Fury looked horrendous, and I think that Jake Paul would beat him.
See, I don't think Jake Paul would beat him, but I don't necessarily think that's an intriguing fight. That's not a headliner. I don't think you're going to get, the whole world excited about that one. So I don't think that's it. I think, obviously, the biggest fight they could possibly do would be the Anderson Silva fight, because, all of the MMA community that just supported Tyron Woodley plus some would support, which means that you could probably break 500,000. So, yeah, I think that's really the only fight that makes any real sense as a pay-per-view headliner that's out there.
Okay, but real talk, Fight Geek, real talk. Let's pretend that you're Jake Paul's manager, okay? Are you really going to have your cash cow go box Anderson Silva? Because I'll tell you right now, Fight Geek, I think Silva tunes Jake Paul up.
Of course he is. Silva was letting Tito swing at him.
He was toying with him. He was toying with him.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Anderson Silva.
So what makes you think Jake Paul would agree to this fight is what I'm saying.
Do we remember why? I mean, Anderson Silva was striking tit for tat with Israel Adesanya not too long ago.
We all know how good Anderson is as an MMA striker. Yeah. My point is...
Well, I'm saying as a striker, the things that were really
do you think Jake would take the fight?
I don't think he'll take that fight next, but I think that's the fight that's out there in the landscape, which is absolutely so stupid to talk about, because Anderson Silva is one of the absolute goats of MMA, and we're discussing the validity of a fight against a kid who's 4-0, a former YouTube star. I mean,
let's remember,
Anderson Silva slays that dude at 60 years old.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He tuned up former champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
I know he did. That's what I'm saying. And
put some respect on Anderson Silva, the boxer's name, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, Anderson Silva, the boxer's pretty damn good. I mean, other than his age.
That's what I'm saying.
He's shown everything you need to show. So, I mean, Anderson's going to have some fights available to him, but, I mean, the Jake Paul fight seems easy. But, again, Anderson Silva's fighting on Triller and Jake's over at Showtime. So let's see if that presents any type of issue in that. But please,
all right. So wait, here's my question.
Now?
Here's my question. You got to bet over or under 2 years that Triller from this moment on will continue putting on fight nights. Will they be around in 2 years putting on fight nights?
I'm going to say no.
I say no. What about 1 year? Over under in 1 year?
Yeah, because I know they got that Oscar De La Hoya Oscar versus anyone's going to interest some people.
I give them 10 months. I say they don't make a year.
I
say they don't make a year from now.
And then maybe one big card after that, but they're going to have to produce something other than they did last weekend because those 2 fights were just miserable.
Didn't Oscar De La Hoya say that he was in the hospital for COVID despite being double vaxxed? Yeah, okay. Whatever, Oscar. No comment on that one.
I mean, I can't imagine who's going to be interested in seeing De La Hoya box again, but I'm sure there'll be a crowd for it.
Yeah, Oscar's excuse was pathetic. That's all I'll say. Okay, moving on.
Let's keep
moving on. So, really quick, we've got a second part to the opening question, and I know that you really wanted to mention this. Conor McGregor,
really quick, 10 minutes in,
asks for Machine Gun Kelly's photo. Supposedly, a photo with him
this has not been
at the 2021 VMAs. This is not confirmed. Machine Gun Kelly says no. Conor throws a drink at him. They have to be separated. Conor's got a little cane. And Chael Sonnen just made a video. Chael's a huge Conor defender, it's worth noting as of late. And he, the name of his video that he just released about an hour ago is Conor McGregor's Becoming a Little Rich Weirdo.
I mean, I don't know what's going on with Conor McGregor. Honestly, I think, he's of the mindset that he's always trying to make noise, whether it's
You can't
good,
take him anywhere
different.
these days. You can't even take him to the VMAs.
I know, and it's just, I mean, Machine Gun Kelly's bedazzled and weighs 85 pounds. Like, what kind of a threat was Conor McGregor feeling by Machine Gun Kelly dressed like that in that
Conor
space?
needs to be charged with a hate crime because bedazzled people, that's a hate crime charge, I'm pretty sure.
He took umbrage with an 85-pound dude who was bedazzled.
Who was bedazzled. There's no other way to say it. That's not even like a smart-ass thing. Like he is bedazzled.
Think that's the technical term for it.
He's literally bedazzled. Like, that's it.
And for some reason, Conor McGregor chose that guy to challenge. That shows you where Conor McGregor is today.
Also, he's got a little cane. He's walking with a little cane.
No, but it's a mindset. Conor McGregor, I'm just going to, put on my, whatever, psychology hat.
Yeah.
I just feel like he feels so low about himself because his image is cloaked in being the baddest dude, the champion, the champ that, he's got a busted leg. He's on a losing streak, people are having a laugh at his expense. I just think that, he's living his worst life right now and it's coming out. It's coming out in rough ways.
I don't know if I've heard someone put that, like, living his worst life right now.
Everything that dude.
I agree with you. He's living his worst life for sure.
And it's all slipping through his fingers, and he can't figure out how to stay relevant other than starting fights with American pop stars.
I just feel a little sorry. Really quick, one shout out let's pour one out for Dee Devlin. Poor woman's she's gone through some bullshit with this, man. She's just trying to enjoy the VMAs.
Yeah,
the poor woman. Conor, just let your wife to be enjoy the VMAs, man. Come on, bruh. You don't have to take on the bedazzled guy.
That, but then I think later the night, didn't Dylan Dennis post a picture with Conor and said get some or something? And I
don't think Dylan Dennis was invited to the VMAs.
No, but I think it was after the fact.
Okay, yeah, they wouldn't let him in, but yeah.
But I mean, it's just so isn't the gimmick is just so played out. I mean,
yeah.
If Conor McGregor wants to be truly relevant, I think he needs to reinvent himself because this is getting truly pathetic. I mean, I know there's still people that love him, and again, if he fights, we're all going to tune in. But man, the tide has turned, I feel.
Absolutely. All right, are we ready to move on to UFC Vegas 37?
Let's do it.
All right, so coming up this weekend, we've got UFC Vegas 37. Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Ryan Superman Spann. This is a fun fight at 205. Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Ryan Spann. Yeah, let's start with that Fight Geek. What do you make of it, and who do you got?
Well, it's a tough fight to call. I mean, Ryan Spann he's sneaky good. He's 6'5". He's got a long reach. He's coming into his prime at 30 years old. Has some good, solid wins. But, Anthony Smith, when he's on, is just so good. So it's a hard one to call. But Spann does have a 5-inch reach advantage, is a bit younger. Dang, man. I don't even want to make this call on a Tuesday. But if I have to, I'm leaning on the experience of Anthony Smith here. I think that he'll find a way to get to this one, but it's a very dangerous fight for him because, Spann does hit hard and can get to him. But like I say, Anthony, when he comes out, he's very sharp early, and if he's on, he's very good. So I'm expecting him to follow up that Jimmy Crute win with a good performance, but it is a very dangerous fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I tend to agree with you. Real quick, I've got Anthony Lionheart Smith via triangle choke in the 3rd round. Having said that, Fight Geek, Lionheart Smith in 5-round fights usually do not work out for Smith. It's worth noting that, people.
He's unbelievable in the first round.
He's unbelievable in the first few rounds, but the longer the fight goes, the sketchier it gets for Anthony Smith. So if Spann gets out of that 3rd round, then I really don't like Anthony's chances from there.
Well, I could see that, but it just depends on what kind of a fight it is, because a lot of times Anthony gets, put into grappling and clinch situations that wears him out. And we've really never seen Ryan Spann, fight someone like Anthony Smith late into a fight. So, he has a decision win against Sam Alvey, who's a low output fighter. So I think Anthony's the pick here.
So let me ask you a quick sort of related question here, a sidebar question, Fight Geek, and it's a little complicated here, but is Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann UFC Fight Night headliner worthy? I personally don't think it is. I think it's important we call out fights that we do not think are main event worthy, because I see Dana and what he's doing. He's diluting it little by little. I don't think it's up to par for a UFC Fight Night 5-round main event. Am I being a casual?
No, I agree with you. I don't think it's a main event worthy.
It could be a great co-main, but I don't like it as a main.
It's a good fight.
It's a good co-main event.
But, I think Ryan Spann on the B side is, that's a tough one to sell as a main event fighter, even though his recent success is pretty impressive.
All right, so I'm glad you agree with me. I think that, the UFC's really got to be careful here. It's not usually an issue, but just be careful with, they're getting a little cute with diluting these cards.
Yeah, but this card has some sneaky good action fights.
Arman Sarukian, the number 14 lightweight, taking on Christos Giagos, is an interesting fight.
That's a good one. Definitely, Arman Sarukian is a hot prospect.
I think it's Sarukian.
Looked unbelievable.
According to Luke Thomas, and he's pretty arrogant.
What did he say?
I said Luke Thomas is very arrogant, and he pronounces it Sarukian, so I feel like he'd be right because he's like an arrogant dude.
Okay.
I don't know.
Your word for it.
Okay,
that doesn't make me pronounce it any better, but I'll try.
Okay. I don't know.
There's a lot of good. Tony Gravely's a good action fighter. Joaquin Buckley's Killer Be Killed.
Joaquin Buckley versus Antonio Arroyo. Who you got in that one? That's a fun one.
I'm going to take Joaquin Buckley in that one. He's boom or bust. I expect him to boom there.
Ariana Lipski, the Violence Queen, versus Mandy Bohm. Bohm's undefeated, 7-0.
I think the easy pick is Lipski, but, Bohm I don't know a ton about, but she is undefeated. She's coming over from a Bellator decision victory.
She's tough. She's tough. She's a grinder.
She's tough, but I will go with Lipski, who's a little bit more seasoned and has been in the UFC, with Bohm making her debut. So
okay, Ian Cutelaba versus Devin Clark, the co-main event at 205.
This is a fun one too. Cutelaba would be my pick. 10 out of 10 times, but he's just so unpredictable. It seems like the last few times out, he's really been all over the place. But I do think on paper he's better, so I'm taking Cutelaba.
I agree with you. I'm also taking Cutelaba.
But he could go in there and fake like he's getting hit and have a stoppage loss,
Devin Clark he's like friends with DC and kind of annoying, right? I'm just trying to make 100% sure I know who he is.
I think you're thinking of Deron Wynn.
Oh, I am thinking of Deron Wynn.
But no, Devin Clark is from the Midwest. I think he trains with Anthony Smith off the top of my head, or has in the past.
Okay. I still know that Brown Bear. Yeah. Brown Bear. He lost to Anthony Smith in his last fight. It was a triangle choke at. Right. And then he beat Alonzo Menafield before that. Okay. I remember him. Yeah. I'm going with Ian Cutelaba here by decision. You're right that I was thinking of Deron Wynn with the little annoying DC friend.
I didn't say he's annoying. You did.
Oh,
we got anything else we want to call out? I think Impa
Kasanganai.
Yeah, versus Carlston Harris has a good opportunity to be an action fight.
I really like Impa. Shout out Impa. He follows me on Twitter, and I really like him. He's a very positive dude. I'm rooting for him hard.
I think he'll take this one.
Ooh, wait. What do we think of the? Yeah, go ahead.
You got one?
I was gonna say Emily Whitmire versus Hannah Goldie. I'm just laughing because I feel like Emily Whitmire's been on a lot of our episodes, and I feel like we pick her to win a lot, and she never wins when we pick her.
Well, she won one time when I picked her, but yes, I actually think this will be a fun back and forth fight, and I'm taking Emily Whitmire.
Okay, she's 4-4 versus 5-2 Hannah Goldie.
We just saw Hannah Goldie pretty recently fight.
Oh, man, are you going to make me... Yeah, I guess I'm taking Emily as well. Damn it.
Yeah, because Emily Whitmire, she's been fighting pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, Goldie's on a 2-fight losing streak, Hannah Goldie, so...
Well, so is Whitmire.
Well, I know.
Polyana Viana and Amanda Ribas.
Yep. Thoughts?
I think she'll show her best in this one.
All right. So, was there anything else we wanted to discuss on the card, or is that really it?
I think it's on to Bellator 266.
All right. So, Bellator 266, we've obviously got a very exciting main event with the man, the myth, the legend, Yoel Soldier of God Romero taking on Phil Davis. What are your thoughts on this? Because I think this is a really fun, interesting fight, and it's a lot closer than many people are giving it.
For sure. I mean, one thing I will say is it's very interesting. It probably will not be fun. Both of these guys are extremely low output strikers who are wrestling base. I mean, Yoel Romero's been extremely low output in his last few fights, and Phil Davis is literally notoriously known for, not putting the pedal to the metal. So without being too negative, this has a chance to be a stinker, in my opinion. But with that said, I think Phil Davis is closer to his prime. He's obviously the more natural 205er. Yoel Romero, clearly was having issues with his left eye and his ability to get cleared to fight. I think, Father Time catches up to us all at some point, and this may be where it starts to for Romero. I'm taking Phil Davis via unanimous decision.
Wow, you're taking Phil Davis by unanimous decision. I'm taking Yoel, the Soldier of God Romero, baby, by unanimous decision. I think he is going to knock Phil Davis down at least once, possibly twice. I don't think he'll get the finish. Phil Davis is, as you mentioned, a very sneaky...
Have you seen the images of Yoel at 205?
Yeah. Yes.
How does he look to you?
Not like he's in a weight class that's a little too big for him.
So would you say it's fair to say he's, a fat, short 205er?
Yeah, but he's also Yoel Romero.
Well, I understand that, but he's been out for a while, and he actually only has one win in the last 4 years.
All right. Well, hang on. Let me bring in. I'm bringing in a listener question here because it's so appropriate. So this question is from our main man and Split Podcast OG Jalen Ware. Love this guy. That's at strive2b_gr8. Great. He says, Phil Davis should have been a lot more in the UFC, in my opinion. he was and is a real good fighter, but he never reached that level of greatness to me. What stopped him from eliteness with his size and wrestling grappling skill set? Hashtag AskSplitPod. So, Fikey, what do you think's what held Phil Davis back overall?
Well, I believe I just kind of outlined it. He's notoriously, timid on the feet. He never,
he plays it too safe is what I was going to say. Is that what you're saying?
He plays it too safe. He's very gifted, and he always had his wrestling to fall back on, and he just fought in a very safe space, which, I think he was 13-2 and the number 3 or 4 ranked light heavyweight in the world when Dana let him go to Bellator, and it was strictly based on, his style and his mentality as a fighter.
This sounds really harsh, but you know what he's like? He's like a less flashy, less good-looking version of Wonder Boy. And it's like, well,
no, because
flashy, good-looking is what Wonder Boy sells himself on.
Yeah, but Wonder Boy is a striker who dances in and out and is super interesting. Phil Davis is a guy who had, for a very, very long time had very basic striking, and even to this day. I mean
by how careful he is what I was trying to by how careful he is.
But with that being said, he isn't very good at defense. He's very smart. He sees the end of a lot of fights. He just went to a decision with Vadim Nemkov, who's an absolute monster. So with that being said, I think he'll be able to handle Yoel Romero at this point in his career. I think people underestimate Phil Davis a bit because his style is so, just boring. But
it really is, and that's okay to talk about. It is boring. It's a boring style.
I know, for a lack of a better word. I don't like saying boring because, even
Phil Davis boring,
fights
which is fine.
The strategy, you can find, some interest sometime. But yeah, a lot of times in a Phil Davis fight, you're waiting for him to use his physical gifts in a more imposing way, and it's been a long time. Actually, he just never really has evolved into that guy. So I think that is the issue for him, because at 22-6, he's got all kinds of good names on his resume. He's got great, ability, physique.
He's down 0-2 to the light heavyweight champ Vadim Nemkov, worth noting. Down 0-2.
Yes, but one's a split decision loss, so I doubt he'll get another opportunity anytime soon. But the margin there wasn't enormous, considering Vadim Nemkov just starched Ryan Bader.
All right. Are we ready to move on to listener questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, guys, we'll be right back. And then after that, we've got listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 113. And it is now time for my favorite section with my co-host Fight Geek, and that is Listen Up!
You're all over the place there, Phil.
I wanted to make sure I included your name. And you could tell that I'd forgotten to say Fight Geek in the beginning, so it got a little awkward.
Just roll with it next time. It's okay.
All right. Look at Fight Geek's like that backseat driver who's like your 65-year-old grandma, and you're like, all right, thanks, grandma. Like, I don't.
Yeah, noted. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So this question comes from a Split Podcast OG, a true friend of the show, Zan Bando. That's at ZanBando99. Love this guy. Give him a follow. He says, if Ryan Spann beats Anthony Smith, do you expect him to get a title shot at some point in either 2022 or 2023? If so, who would you guess that the champion will be when he gets the title shot at 205? Hashtag AskSplitPod. Great question, Zan. I think that Ryan Spann would have a little ways to go to get that title shot, but let's just for fun assume that he does beat Anthony Smith and that he does get that title shot. If you put a gun to my head, I would say that Yuri Prochazka will be the champion in 2022, or more likely 2023 when Ryan Spann would get that title shot.
I would agree with the Yuri portion of it, and I don't think he would get a title shot off an Anthony Smith victory. He would still need to beat someone above him, like a Dominic Reyes, or maybe let's say Glover loses or something like that. So he's still got a ways to go before he's in that kind of discussion. But yeah, I would say Yuri is the probable one in my opinion too.
Okay, so this next question comes from our main man, Juice, from the Friendly Sparring Podcast. A great show. Make sure you guys check that out. And Juice says, what are some songs that have yet to be used as walkout songs for MMA that you'd like to see, and who would you pair them up with? Hashtag AskSplitPod. What a fun question. I've got a bunch.
That was a good question. Go ahead with one. Let's just throw some back and forth.
So I missed the second part where he said, who would you pair them up with? So I think they were just all used for like me and my this shows you how delusional I am, everyone, which I didn't really mean to show everyone how delusional I am. Okay, so I've got Jay-Z Reservoir Dogs, J. Cole Middle Child, Sitting Sideways by Paul Wall, Nas Small World, and Moby's God Moving Over the Face of the Water as featured in the film Heat.
Wow, you did a deep dive there.
Yeah.
First thing that came to mind was
classic
LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out. Any fighter from New York or Brooklyn, that'd be an awesome.
That's a classic old person answer.
That classic old person answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's an old person thing to say. You're old.
Eminem, I still don't give a fuck. I think that song is super hard. That could,
But Eminem's bad. Eminem's rep in MMA walkouts. He's bad luck, isn't he?
I don't know that, but I think someone like Mike Perry with a song like that would be pretty intense.
Yeah.
What was the other ones I was thinking? I mean, obviously, there's a lot out there, man. That's a tough question. It could take a long time to identify,
Wait a second. Is that's all you've got? You didn't do any research on this? What about so what do you think of my choices? Like J. Cole Middle Child. Like that's a great.
We'll pick a fighter.
Who's a middle?
Make it interesting for me.
All right. I think. I mean, okay. I'm trying to think of who needs one that doesn't have a great one right now. Costa.
Now that's who I was looking at. He could use one. If Costa though, I would Livin' La Vida Loca for Costa would be awesome because of the Ricky Martin.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Costa, Ricky Martin, Livin' La Vida Loca is the perfect one. Let's see, what else? Let's find something for Gaethje. I mean, Gaethje walks out to something different, I think, each time, right?
Yeah, I definitely want... Okay, you know what? I think Justin Gaethje... So I think Justin Gaethje is one of the most terrifying fighters, if not the most terrifying fighter in the UFC, because I think he genuinely just loves to fight and loves violence, particularly.
I got one for him.
Go ahead.
System of a Down Chop Suey for Justin Gaethje.
Okay. I like
that.
Yeah, I like that. That's taking the ultra aggressive route with his aggressive personality. If you want to take the exact opposite route, I was going to push God Moving Over the Face of the Water by Moby, which is like a very scary instrumental ballad.
But Moby and Justin Gaethje.
No, it's supposed to be a yin and yang, right? It's like the calm before the storm. All right.
I get you. We got anything else that calls out to us?
Yeah, I love how he's always putting me on the spot with the questions. Yeah, so this question comes from our main man, MMA by Milliken. Love Milliken, guys. Give him a follow. He's the man at MMA by Milliken. He says, if Alimale McFarland came to the UFC, how do you like her chances in the current women's flyweight division? Hashtag AskSplitPod. That's a great question.
It is a great question, and to be perfectly honest with you, I would really like her chances. I think she
gets through just about everyone except Valentina.
I don't know about that.
Who does she lose to besides Valentina? Go ahead. Who?
Well, she's really not faced a lot of strikers like we're seeing. Like Joanne Calderwood could be a tough one for her. Even Viviana Raggio could be a tough
come
one for her.
on.
What do you? I mean, you want me to give a real
Joanne
analysis?
Calderwood.
Okay,
You
fine.
think that Alima Lay McFarland couldn't take Joanne Calderwood?
Well, she just had a really hard time with a striker that she lost her belt to.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit of MMA math. But I mean, you asked me to break something down. I don't think she'd come in there and take.
Well, I'm here to criticize what your opinion is. I'm here to try to set you and hurt your feelings.
But what I'm saying is, it's a little naive to think that she'd come in and just beat Jennifer Maia. Jennifer Maia's tough. She's Jessica Andrade has fought some of the best female fighters that have ever lived.
Yeah, but didn't Alima Lay defend her belt like what, 3 or 4 times before she lost it?
Against who? Can you name one of the defenses?
Can you name the current champion who beat her? I can't. Rodriguez, is it?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Oops. So seriously, sorry. I actually didn't mean that as like a huge insult. I legit didn't know.
She's good though. I'm just saying, I think Alima Lay would be good, and yes, she would eventually get a title shot. But I think she's probably, I'd say number 4.
Okay.
Top 4 or 5 right now. But I mean, yeah, styles make fights.
So like who wins her versus like Cynthia?
Andrea Lee, those are all tough fights.
Who wins Alima Lay McFarland versus Cynthia Calvillo? That's a good one, isn't it?
That's an unbelievable fight, and I would actually take Alima Lay just because Cynthia's so undisciplined. She'd probably miss weight.
True. Okay, all right. So, yeah, we agree there.
But no, I think she'd be a very interesting addition, but I don't think she would come in and be, a favorite to beat everyone she faces. I think she'd be an interesting face, though.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Because I think Jessica Andrade, maybe even Caitlin Chookagian, could be the champions in Bellator. So,
I mean, chill out. Caitlin Chookagian and her grandma pies can take a seat.
her point fighting style though has been difficult.
Oh yeah, Mr. Chookagian, make sure you got those grandma pies going. Oh yeah.
All right, let's keep it moving.
And then they found all the interesting tweets, and she's like, "Yeah, so what of it?"
She just blushed.
She didn't even deny it, which I actually respect. No, that was good. Okay, anyways, moving on. This is a child's podcast. No, it's not. But anyways, this question is from our man at 509 King of Kings. Love this dude. At 509 King of Kings. He says, what fight do you expect will have the most fireworks on this weekend's card? And do you see any surprise performances or big upsets happening? Love this question.
I think the Sarkurian fight, I know I said it wrong again.
Sarukian
will have some fireworks. I think.
Do you think Sarukian loses?
No, I think he gets a highlight reel finish.
Oh, okay, because he's favored to win.
That's the definition of excitement, isn't it?
Yeah, but absolutely. I misunderstood because you said any upsets. Yes, I agree with you.
Upsets.
I think Antonio Arroyo has a very decent chance against Joaquin Buckley. That would be viewed as an upset.
I think Carlston Harris has a shot against Impa.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't know who the favorite is there, but that could go either way and should be fun.
Definitely agree on that one. Devin Clark, of course, has a chance against the favorite Ian Cutelaba. Big chance.
If Emily Whitmire's an underdog, I haven't looked. I mean.
And then Ryan Spann is a small underdog to Anthony Lionheart-Smith, and he's got a good chance.
Yeah, for sure. Could be a bunch of upsets actually.
Yeah.
Except the Sarukian fight, that won't be an upset.
I was gonna say it's kind of an upset-friendly environment, right? Okay, so moving on. Okay, this is from, I love this guy, at SmartDan51. He's a Split Podcast OG, been friends for a while. He goes by the MMA Philosopher, but that's at SmartDan51. He says, if you were a matchmaker, who should the following 3 fighters face? Marco Madsen, Darren Till, and Stipe Miocic. So let's start off with Darren Till. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Darren Till, I think, is a no-brainer. You go either Uriah Hall or Kevin Holland.
Yeah, I mean, I
all
like
of them are
those.
coming off losses, I believe, and all of them are a little enigmatic. and they're all kind of fighting for their lives right now. So I think all of them present great fights.
Yeah, I like that answer. Okay, so Mark O. Madsen, who recently defeated, just a reminder, recently beat Austin Hubbard at UFC 248 via unanimous decision. Then he beat Clay Guida via split decision. He's now 11-0. He's a lightweight. What do you think of what do you think of Marco Madsen versus Drew Dober?
I like it. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And then for Stipe, I think it's a no-brainer. John Jones.
I totally agree. And I don't know why Jones won't consider this, because honestly, I think it's one of the more friendly, stylistic fights at heavyweight for Jones. I mean, I don't know what I don't know if he's thinking it's going to get more friendly than that matchup. It's not. So
yeah, I mean, you got a battle-worn, somewhat Stipe later in his career, who's not a huge heavyweight. It'd be a very
who may have a questionable chin
fight
at this point.
Yeah, so I think, Stipe Miocic versus John Jones is the only fight that makes any sense for Stipe outside of a title fight. I mean, he is an absolute legend, just sitting there in the number 2 spot in the heavyweight division. So he deserves a super fight or a title shot. I don't think you'll see Stipe Miocic fighting back in the rankings ever again. I would be very shocked.
Yep, absolutely agree. Okay, are we ready to go on to the next question?
Let's go.
This comes from our good friend, Eric Buchert. That's at AT.
Hold on, Eric Buchert left us a 5-star iTunes review after you solicited
I noticed
last week,
that. So. I noticed that. Thank you for bringing it up, Eric. You are now in. You're officially in the running for that prize, guys. Remember, 5-star iTunes reviews starting now, going for the next month and a half. You're eligible to win a prize. So go ahead on your iPhone, if you don't have an iPhone, I know your girlfriend or your mom or your sister or your brother does. Get that iPhone, ask to borrow it. 5 stars on the Split Decision podcast on iTunes.
Really appreciate that, Eric. Thanks for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, Eric's the man. Thank you.
All right, okay. So let's ask his question now.
So, and again, his handle is ATANAK74, Eric Buchert. He says, not sure what it is about Sam Alvey that's kept him in the UFC, but it's definitely not his footwork and graceful striking. In fact, I think he has one of the ugliest fighting styles around. Who are your top 3 UFC fighters with the ugliest fighting style? #AskSplitPod. Wow.
First one that comes to mind is Darren Elkins.
Okay, Merab Dvalishvili. I love him, and he's got definitely an ugly style, for sure. And I love him.
How about Roxanne Modafferi?
Ooh, see, and I feel like we just came up with 3 just like that.
Yeah, for sure. Want to keep going?
Yeah, okay. Okay, wait. Meatball Molly McCann.
Oh, her style's amazing. What are you talking about?
She takes a lot of shots.
Her style comes
She takes a lot of shots.
Yeah.
Though.
She's a blood and guts fighter. Comes swinging heavy hooks. That style's awesome.
Isn't that what the question kind of was, though?
Well, I don't know. It's very visually.
Molly McCann she takes a lot of shots to give them.
She does, but that's what I'm saying. That's a pleasing style.
Oh, I thought.
Is it not?
Yeah, it is, but it's also a little bit ugly, isn't it? It's not like for example, it's not like Adesanya where you're like moving in and out, not getting touched.
Fair enough. And then I'll also say Ryan Hall. I know he's interesting, but I don't like that style of fighting.
Yeah, Ilya Taporia ended him, thank God.
Yeah, so, okay, let's see. Do we got anyone else to call out before we move past this?
Yeah, Mr. B. At Mr. B 1996. He says, "Sup, fellas, been a while. My Bellator-related question. If Gegard Mousasi beats Austin Vanderford and retains his title, who do y'all think would be next to challenge him for it?" Well, that's a hard question. That's very difficult, Mr. B. Why would you ask that?
That's at 170, right?
185. Gegard is the 185-pound division champion. So,
jeez, I don't even know. You got the Bellator rankings up?
I was trying to pull them up and make time. But the honest to God question is that Bellator's middleweight division is definitely one of their weaker divisions. All right, so I've got the top right here. So it's champion Gegard Mousasi. Number 1 contender is Austin Vanderford. Number 2 is John Salter, who's already lost to Gegard. Number 3, Costello Van Steenis. 4, Johnny Eblin. 5, Fabian Edwards. 6, Charlie Ward. 7, Mike Shipman. And it gets uglier from there. So
yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say they'll sign somebody new because I don't know.
Or I was going to say, what about if Yoel loses to Phil Davis?
And comes back down.
Comes down.
I mean, that would make sense. Or you could get someone moving up again from 170, but I don't think there's anyone who really fits that bill either.
So I have a paranoid theory that Scott Coker doesn't want Yoel Romero to go to fight a middleweight because he's scared he'll dominate and that it will make Bellator look bad.
I don't think he considers those things like you do.
Wait, what do you mean? Why wouldn't he? He's the promoter. He should consider it.
Why would he? If he just paid the guy a whole bunch of money, why would he be worried about him dominating a division? They'd want him to dominate
as you know,
the division.
when it comes to one championship with Chatri, he's always trying to get the former UFC fighters beaten, right? He's trying to humiliate them. It's like that.
I don't think it's like that because that's not how business really works.
No, because he's trying to say our fighters are better than the UFC fighters. See, I just proved it. You really think I'm crazy here?
I think you're jaded in the way that you think, and that's why you think that. But no, when a company a company that big invests in someone, I don't think they're investing in them for the simple reason to make their competitors look bad. No, they're investing in him because they believe he still, has value as an asset, and they'd want that asset to thrive. So,
I mean, you make it sound like they're paying him, $25 million.
I guarantee you he's one of the top 10 paid fighters on that roster. Guaranteed.
Yoel?
Yes.
I mean, God, he'd better be. Right?
I mean,
if you go by name value, who's got bigger name value than him on the roster?
Andy was a recent free agent, so he definitely is making the money. They don't want Yoel Romero to come over here and go 0-3 when they're paying him what they just paid him as a free agent to prove that the UFC isn't as good. That makes.
Okay, so we got in. Okay, so what's the answer?
But no.
Who does Gegard fight if he beats Austin? I think Yoel Romero.
Okay, I'll agree with you because it's the only name that even makes any sense. Gegard Mousasi, to his credit, is willing to fight, the Salters and the Vanderforts of the world because, even those guys don't necessarily feel like they deserve a title shot, but because it's so shallow, that's just the way it is over there.
I mean, just for the record, really quick, Austin Vanderford is now 11-0, and I just want everyone to know something. I can't wait for Vanderford versus Mousasi.
No, it's going to be a very
Austin's going to bring
fight.
it. Austin's going to bring that. If you guys think that this is going to be Mousasi toying with Austin, you're crazy.
Well, Mousasi didn't toy with Salter, or Salters.
Austin Vanderford is going to bring trouble to Gegard.
Well, Austin Vanderfort's never fought anyone even remotely close to a Gegard Mousasi on a
He's
technical
not, but
level.
he's 11-0 fair and square.
Yeah, what are you talking about 11-0? Doesn't Gegard have 48 career wins? He has 4 times, almost 5 times as many wins. So
No doubt. I'm just saying.
Yeah, 11-0? Who cares?
Wait a second. I thought we were it's not like you were agreeing with me for a second. So you think Austin won't be competitive?
I think Austin Vanderford is definitely live. He's young, he's strong, but 11-0 doesn't mean he's done anything. I mean, 11-0, he's going to threaten.
No, but again, Bellator's middleweight division is one of their worst, for sure.
So his 11-0 is even softer than 11-0?
Yes, but
Okay.
but Gegard's last look, Gegard didn't look great against John Salter. I think Austin's going to make it
Yes,
close.
he did look great. He let him. He was very good defensively early and got back up, and then he punished him. I mean, what else do you want from the guy? I mean, you can't whitewash every single fighter you face. You take their best shot and then you turn them back. It's exactly what he did with minimal pushback. It was an unbelievable performance.
All right. You know what? You've been provoking me and kind of irritating me with this little argument. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little challenge with you. I think Austin Vanderford will defeat Gegard Mousasi, and if I'm wrong, I'll have to have an embarrassing cover background photo of your choice for 2 weeks. But you've got to do the same for me if I win. Deal?
Can't do it.
No, just agree, dude.
Can't do it.
Our listeners are literally throwing up that you're not agreeing. Just keep it interesting and agree, bro.
I'll consider it.
No, you're agreeing. He's agreeing.
If you
I'll
bleach
keep it
your,
appropriate. I'll keep. You can't.
if you
yeah.
bleach your hair the week of the fight to show your
Just agree.
supportive
Just agree.
Austin, and you put a picture of him and her side by side.
I already posted a picture of them literally pooping next to each other, holding hands.
Oh, okay. So this is like
We just lost all the listeners. Now I'm talking about
this
all
is like a pastime for you. It's not a bad. Fine, sure. If Austin Vanderford wins, you can have your sophomoric, profile picture or whatever you want.
Cover photo. It's the background one, and you can do it with me. And the rule is you can't make it, pornographic or inappropriate to get, nothing like graphic.
Okay.
All right.
It's not going to happen though, but it will be a very.
You should be worried, dude. Like you should. I'm honestly feeling like kind of good about this. You should be a lot more worried. I can hear in your tone how arrogant you are. You should be worried about this.
I'm so concerned.
Austin's gonna bring it, dude. He poops with his wife. That brings a new level of. That brings a new level of dedication.
Would that be a strategy you took? Are you a no poop with the wife guy?
Just going off of, previous relationships, it's something I used to do all the time.
Really?
No, God.
Okay.
Let's just, jeez, everyone is just done with us. They're done. Okay, do we have any audio questions?
When you lead off the card with Triller.
Huh?
I said that's what happens when you lead off the show with Triller.
That's what we had to talk about. That was the news of the weekend, dude.
All right. Do we have any more questions?
I think we've got audio questions.
Do we have any more Twitter questions?
No.
Okay. Well, here's the audio one from Edward then.
Edward.
One fun listener question for you this week. Okay, first question. What's the best atmosphere you've ever heard for an MMA fight? This can be heard live or on TV. My pick is the atmosphere during the McGregor 2014 fight against Diego Brandao in Dublin. Second question. It's a zombie apocalypse and you need to escape a city crawling with the undead. Which one fighter would you team up with and why?
I like it. Both questions
love it.
are great. Thank you, Edward.
Edward's the man. Guys, everyone give Edward a follow. He is the man. Love that question. And he's at Edward J MMA. Just for the record. So give him a follow, everyone. Fight Geek. Why don't you start us off? What was the best atmosphere?
The best atmosphere I'd ever been a part of was actually very recently. The Diaz versus Edwards fight. I was there live, had great seats, and when Diaz stunned Edwards in the final round, it was one of the more surreal events I've ever been a part of. It felt like every single person in the stadium was holding on to each other with their eyes wide, and we were all just couldn't believe that we were, that Nate had hurt him at that point. It was completely surreal. I mean, I'll never forget that moment. It sucks that Nate wasn't able to finish that off, but when that happened, it was like we were transported into a different place. It was just insane.
I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna go with a show. Another show that I was at. I was also at live. I was at UFC 225, Whitaker versus Romero 2, and I swear the United Center Stadium almost blew the roof off during that fifth and final round. What an insane fight that was, an insane card, topped off an insane card. I'll never really I don't think I'll ever experience anything like that or hear sound at that volume again in the stadium. But then I have to consider the second part, which said, or it could also include something that you watched. And I do have to say, UFC 229, McGregor versus Khabib. I remember the feeling I was at in the bar in Chicago when it started. The second they said fight and the fight started. And, I mean, it felt like there were 5,000 people in that bar and everyone was watching that fight.
Yeah, that was, McGregor Diaz 2 for me.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. I mean, the last 3 rounds of that fight were just theater, just unbelievable. So that's the one on TV that I remember. But, live, the recent one with Diaz and Edwards really sticks out. It was almost like the whole building made a collective gasp. It was just insane.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so zombie apocalypse happens.
I think we've answered this before. We usually roll with Tony Ferguson.
Wait, have we?
Well, I don't know. We
It's quite a
always pick
specific
Tony
question.
As like the crazy guy.
Okay.
So, but I don't know. You got a newer guy.
Yeah. So I actually disagree with the Tony Ferguson. Even if I gave it earlier, I don't like it because I think Tony's a little too crazy and he's too he'd be too risky, and then he'd be like, "Oh, bro, it's no big deal, but I got bitten," and then you'd be like, "Aw," and it'd be this
I can see that.
Yeah. So
how about John Jones with his newfound love for being a soldier?
The truth is, Jones is a really good answer. The truth is, Jones is a really good answer, especially because he's a cosplay Marine. I was gonna say Israel Adesanya or Robert Whittaker because they're both very clever, very smart strikers who have a lot of good distance. I was gonna say Israel would be pretty dorky, which is a good thing. Like he'd know the zombie rules, but I feel like Whittaker would too. Whittaker kind of gets away with dorky stuff, but he's so cool that it doesn't. He just gets away with it completely as he should. So yeah, Whittaker or Adesanya or John Jones.
Yeah, I think John Jones is the.
Yeah, because he's the Marine cosplayer, so that's pretty good.
He looks like he's picking it up pretty good though.
Yeah. I agree. Absolutely. Okay, so does that wrap up our listener questions? Were you able to discern the one from Paulo Kelly, or did no?
No, he didn't send it this week. So
no, I know, but he sent one last week, and you weren't able to play it, and I'm just kind of saying.
It wasn't an error on my end, Phil. It was unplayable.
Just because it's not an MP3, you can't put in some gigabyte code.
It's not. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Okay. So before I hand this off to Fight Geek, guys, thank you so much.
I really apologize to Phil and Paul.
Thank you to Eric Buchert for the 5-star Apple iTunes podcast review, guys. If you haven't given a 5-star review yet, you know who you are. We do have your names, and we do have you on a list. Please let us scratch the name off that list by giving us a 5-star review. Did I go too far? I should probably say I'm kidding. Anyways, guys, with that, I will pass it off to Fight Geek. Have a great weekend. Fight Geek, it's all yours. Take it away.
All right. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil the MMA Dude. We're at Split_podcast. It's 4 words. The Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.